Mysteryverse AI.
9 hikers entered the frozen mountains. Only silence came back. This is the Dyatlov Pass mystery.
In February 1959, an event occurred in the remote snowfields of Russia that systematically broke the established rules of survival and forensic science. The resulting evidence, preserved in official Soviet records, documents a reality that contradicts our standard understanding of how people die in the wilderness. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, accompanied by 8 fellow survivalists. Every member held advanced certifications in long-distance, cold-weather trekking, possessing the specialized technical training and psychological endurance required to navigate the Ural Mountains in the dead of winter. Their objective was the summit of Kolatsyok, a peak known locally as the Mountain of the Dead. As the expedition photos show, they were fully equipped with the heavy canvas gear and specialized supplies necessary for a high-altitude winter ascent. But the team never reached their destination. When they failed to check in, the Russian military launched a massive search and rescue operation, scouring the ridgelines for what they assumed would be a standard, if tragic, avalanche site. Instead, the military walked into a scene that defied physical logic. They discovered a camp that ignored basic human instinct and forensic patterns, suggesting a sequence of events that shouldn't have been possible given the laws of physics. Search parties eventually located the expedition's tent halfway up the mountain slope. It was collapsed and buried under a light layer of snow, but the damage to the fabric didn't align with the weight of snow or the claws of a predator. Forensic investigators determined the tent had been violently sliced open from the inside. The team had used their own knives to cut through the canvas and escape their only source of shelter. Following this breakout, the group abandoned their boots, heavy coats, and survival gear. They fled into the darkness, running through waist-deep snow in temperatures of -30 degrees Celsius, many of them completely barefoot. For hikers with this level of experience, abandoning gear in those temperatures is a death sentence. The physical evidence suggests that whatever occurred inside that tent was perceived as an immediate, lethal threat that outweighed the certainty of freezing to death. Over several weeks, the bodies were recovered at varying distances from the camp. While hypothermia was the expected cause of death, the subsequent autopsies revealed internal damage that changed the nature of the investigation. This medical visualization shows the trauma: shattered bone, crushed skulls, and pulverized rib cages. These injuries required a massive force, like a high-speed vehicle impact. Crucially, the skin covering these fractures remained completely intact. There were no external marks to indicate where the force hit. The autopsies also recorded a final, highly irregular detail. One female hiker was missing her tongue and the surrounding soft tissue of her face, an injury that didn't match the pattern of scavenger activity. Forensic science cannot easily reconcile internal destruction of this magnitude with zero external trauma. These findings effectively ruled out standard mountain hazards, like falls or simple snowslides, which leave clear marks of impact on the skin. Because the bodies contradicted the environment, the investigation expanded to look for an external trigger that could have caused the group to flee. Using vintage Soviet equipment like this radiation dosimeter, investigators tested the site. They found that several pieces of the victim's clothing were contaminated with unusually high levels of localized radiation. At the same time, reports arrived from other hiking groups in the region. They claimed to have seen strange glowing orange spheres hovering in the sky near Kolatsyok on the night the expedition vanished. The presence of radiation alongside these eyewitness accounts forced the investigation to pivot. Rather than looking for weather-related accidents, officials began investigating the potential for covert military testing or atmospheric phenomena that might explain the localized energy and the group's sudden flight. As the evidence became more contradictory and difficult to explain using standard police procedure, the Soviet authorities took a final, decisive step. They abruptly halted the investigation and sealed the case files away from the public. The government's official conclusion used a specific, scientifically unprecedented phrase to legally close the matter, stating that the 9 hikers had been killed by an unknown compelling force. Even with decades of modern analysis, the case remains an architectural failure of logic. The physical evidence refuses to form a coherent sequence of events, leaving the deaths of the Dyatlov team as an enduring anomaly that our current forensic tools cannot resolve. Based on the internal injuries and the radiation found at the scene, do you believe this was a military experiment gone wrong, or something even more difficult to define? Share your theories in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most persistent mysteries.
Some mysteries are never solved, only remembered. Until next time, this is Mysteryverse AI.